In this video, you will learn how to translate words into math notation. So we have four main operations to discuss. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And for each of these, there's different words that signify which operation you are doing. And in the next few moments, you will see a particular word in the phrase that is underlined. So here we see the sum of 7 and y. The words that are underlined correspond to the particular operation that is being done. So the word sum corresponds with addition. So the sum of 7 and y means we are adding 7 plus y. Next we have a number increased by 8. Increase means addition. So a number is going to be a variable, some unknown number. Let that be n in this case. So n plus 8. A number increased by 8. Next we have 4 more than a number. More than would mean addition. So 4 plus something, and we're adding 4 plus a number. So 4 plus n, or 4 plus x, or some sort of variable. So that would be my translation. And with addition, doesn't matter which one comes first. If it's 4 plus n or n plus 4, it's the same expression. Next we have subtraction. We have a phrase, the difference between a number and 3. The word difference means subtraction. So you're subtracting a number and 3. A number would be some variable, could be n, could be x, whatever. So you're taking the number and then subtracting 3. So we'd have x minus 3, for example. Next we have a number decreased by 7. The word decreased means we are subtracting. So we have a number, we'll let that be a variable, so x or n. X minus 7 is the way to express a number decreased by 7. Next we have 5 less than a number. Less than also means subtraction. So 3 less than a number means you take the number and then subtract 3. So some number, some variable, minus 3. Next we have 5 minus a number. So minus obviously means subtraction. So you have 5 minus some number, and we'll use a variable to represent that number. Next we have multiplication. So the first phrase is 4 times a number. With variables, you can write 4 and then a times sign and then the number, or you can just put 4 next to the number. So 4n would be the same thing as 4 times n, or 4 times the number. Next we have the product of 3 and a number. So product means multiply. We're multiplying 3 times some number. So 3 times n, or 3 times a, or 3 times some variable. Next we have 2/3 of a number. The word of typically signifies multiplication. So we have 2/3 times some number. So 2/3 times n, or times some variable. Next with division, we have a phrase that uses the word quotient. Quotient means division. So we have the quotient of a number and 6. Means we take a number and divide it by 6. So we have n, or some variable, divided by 6. Next we have a number divided by 8. So obviously the word divide would go with division. So a number divided by 8 means we have some number, we'll call that n, and then divided by 8. So be careful with subtraction. There is one phrase that is commonly mistaken on the setup, and that phrase would look something like this: 6 less than x. So 6 less than x would be translated x minus 6. Okay, not 6 minus x. It does make a difference. Okay, 6 less than x means you take some number and you're subtracting 6. Alright, so we end up x minus 6. And also, With addition, it doesn't really matter. So here we have 6 more than x. So 6 more than x could be x plus 6 or 6 plus x. With addition, it doesn't matter the order. But with subtraction, it does make a difference. So be careful. All right, here are a few examples where we have to translate a phrase into math notation. So here is our first example. We have 4 less than half of y. So half of y, half would be 1 over 2. Of typically means multiplication. So we have 1/2 times y, or 1/2 y. And 4 less than that means you take that and subtract 4. So my phrase can be translated as 1/2 y minus 4. Next we have half the distance between y and 4, or half the difference between y and 4. So half would be 1 over 2, that's half. The difference between y and 4. Difference means subtract. So we're subtracting y minus 4. Okay, so we have y minus 4. And so it's half this difference. We could almost say half of this difference. So we have half of that, means we have 1/2 times all of that. So my expression can be written as 1/2 and then parentheses y minus 4. We need to review quickly a few formulas because this will come into play here with equations and with translating into math notation. So first, a quick definition. A formula is an equation that states the relationship between particular values. So many times you'll see this in geometry or in science with different formulas with actual real values that the variables represent. So for example, the area of a rectangle, the formula is you take the length times the width. Okay, so that would be a formula. A equals L times W. Area equals the length of the rectangle times the width of the rectangle. The perimeter of a rectangle is we have 2L plus 2W, which means we have 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That is the perimeter. And in case you forget what perimeter means, perimeter is all the way around something. So if this is your rectangle, let's say this is 6, and that would be 6 as well. I have that 4 and 4. Perimeter is all the way around, so you add up all of this. So if you add this all up, we do have 2 6s. So 2 times 6, plus we have 2 4s. So we add those together to get 12 plus 8, which would equal 20. So that is perimeter. Next we have distance. The distance that someone travels is equal to the rate, or the speed, times the time that was traveled. Okay, so that's your distance formula, rate times the time. So if you traveled maybe 60 miles an hour, that's your rate, and you travel for 2 hours, that's your time. You take 60 times 2 to get 120 as your distance traveled. Next we have cost. Cost, or C, equals N times P. Cost would be the number of items that you purchase times the price per item. So if you bought 4 shirts, that's the number of items, and each shirt costs $10, that's your price. Your total cost would be 4 times 10. Alright, so now we're going to use those formulas to set up different expressions. So here we have the directions telling you to find the area and perimeter of a rectangle with length 9 and width W. Alright, so you have to translate this into math notation and plug in these different values. So the area of a rectangle is found by taking the length times the width. Well, the length is 9 and the width is W. So we have 9 times W. So you can write it with the times sign in between, which is this raised dot, or you can just write 9 next to the W, which is the more common way of writing. So we have area equals 9W. For perimeter, your perimeter formula is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So the length is 9 and the width is W. So we'd have 2 times 9 plus 2 times W. Well, 2 times 9 is 18, and then 2 times W you can write as simply 2W. So my perimeter can be expressed as 18 plus 2W. Next example, you and your friends buy 5 pizzas at $5 each and 3 salads at S dollars each. How much do you and your friends spend? So the cost is equal to the number times the price. So for example, if the pizzas were $10 each, you paid 5 times 10. 5 pizzas times $10. All right, and for salads, same thing. You have 3 times the price. So the cost for pizza we have 5 times the price, and the price is not given, but we do know that it's represented by the letter P. So we have 5 times P for pizzas, that's their cost, and for salads, it's 3 times the cost for the salads, so 3 times S. We could write that as 5P and 3S. So the pizza cost is 5P, the salad cost is 3S. So your total cost would be adding those together. So my total cost would be 5P plus 3S. So I can say, to answer the question, that you and your friends spent 5P plus 3S dollars. Last example, you travel H plus 1 over 3 hours at 60 miles per hour. And the question is, how far do you travel? So your distance formula is equal to the rate times the time. Your speed times the time that you traveled. So we just plug in the different numbers. The rate is 60 miles per hour, so the rate is 60, and the time is h plus 1/3. So I have 60 times, and then h plus 1/3. Now when I express multiplication, I don't need to put the time sign there. I just put 60 next to the parentheses to mean the same thing. So my distance is 60 times parentheses h plus 1 over 3. So how far do I travel? I travel 60 times h plus 1 over 3 miles.